using you as a pawn. You see they never loaded their guns. Now you out here all by yourself. Ask Steve Jobs, wealth don't buy health. Yeah. If you know, you know.
You know, with gangs and gangsters and, you know, all that, like, sure, I've been friends with a lot of people, you know, and because, you know, in those days, you know, I sold, like, you know, we'll just say a good amount of pot. You know, it's like I never saw pot as a threat or wrong to anyone. It wasn't not like it's fucking meth where it's going to ruin someone's life. So, you know, I had the opportunity or, you know, figure this or that out and then, you know, go from there and then gain trust and go forward, right? But that doesn't mean you have to be in a gang. And sure, like, you know, I worked with a lot of different people, I guess, and, you know, that obviously doesn't matter, and if anyone ever questioned me, it wouldn't matter, and they can't. It's not like you can get in trouble for being like, oh, I used to sell weed, or at least I don't think so. You know, it's like, and yeah, I mean, I don't know why that would be. That's far behind me, and it's pot, so it's legal mostly everywhere. Like, it's like, who gives a shit? And it's like I could, you know, have my medical card right now based on what my doctor told me, and that. And you know, but that's like $200, and it's like $200 I don't have, and I don't deal with enough of it, or I don't ever drive with it on me, or like, you know, I don't care enough about it anymore to where it's like, oh, I need this medical card or whatever, you know. And then you got all these other things that trumps, you know, badassery. Like, it's like he somehow signed a deal or a loophole to make Delta 8 and Delta 10, Delta, you know, whatever forms of pot legal, and it's all over. It's like all over Omaha, you know, and not so much Iowa for whatever reason, but like, yeah, it's in Omaha, and, you know, so it's like, it's, you know, I don't really have a problem saying that, and it's like, shit, you know, if anyone asks me, obviously, it's like, well, grew my own, bitch. Like, you know, it's like that's the smartest way to go about it, because when you grow it yourself, you know how to do it, and it takes time to learn how to, like, master that process, of course. But, you know, when you do it, like, it's, you know, then you don't belong to anyone or owe any money, and you make all that money at the top. You know, and you just go from there. And sure, I've known people or situations and learned things, and yes, I've had, you know, gangsters or in various, you know, fashions, you know, obviously not just black, but like, you know, people, but you know, that, you know, that has like, hey bro, we got you, you know, like, if you want to side up or whatever. But I'm like working with like multiple different groups, and it's like, yeah, that's probably not a good idea, because if I joined, say, this version of it, it's like, well, then I can't do business with this other, and it's just, it all seemed like a big trap. And it's like, oh yeah, we got your back though, you know, like, you know, whatever, you never know. And I was always just like, nah, man, like, you know, it's like there was really no need, and if anything ever happened, it's like I would handle that myself, you know. At that point in my life, I didn't give a shit. It's like, if all these other gangsters are willing to, like, you know, do what they have to do to protect their shit, it's like I'm going to do the same thing. You know, I don't need someone else to go do that for me. And that's how I always looked at it. And, you know, and then I see it's like, you know, obviously, you know, being super close, you know, with Red, you know, Big Red, bro, big, like, baby, like, come on, man. Like, obviously I could have been in that too, but it's just like, well, no, you know, and it's not that he didn't have my back as a friend, but he was also saved in a way, like, you know, his experience in prison after he got stabbed so many times, and then had his near-death experience, and then went to prison, and then found Christ, you know, and like, that's a different story, but it's a great story, but it's, you know, and but anyway, so he, you know, he's a good guy, and, you know, so the angels just left him alone. Like, you know, it's like he's still, once angel, forever angel. Like, it, you know, that's the, you know, obviously, but, you know, he he was who he was. I mean, he's at the top of the pecking order in that world. And it's like, all right, well, we know this motherfucker, we trust motherfucker, and he's saved, or he's had this salvation. And that's one thing gangsters, seem to respect. It's like, if you find Christ, or you're like legitimately like, I need to make changes, and you've done the work, and they trust you, and they know whatever, it's like, all right, well, good luck, do your thing. But if we need you, we'll call on you. But they just kind of quit calling on him. And I don't know all of his business, obviously. Then he stayed in Arizona. And I told him if he wanted to come back to Omaha and start, and live with me, there's other things. Of course, no, because his dad was sick, and, and just kind of going through a lot of different things and whatever. And, and I never got into selling like anything else but pot, which I could have obviously easily, but I always knew, or just told whoever offered straight up, it's like, no, man, I don't want that heaviness, because it brings more problems. And yeah, you make a shit ton more money quickly, but it brings more problems. And then, you're not, and then if you do get pinched, it's like, I don't want to do that time, it's like, and having a kid and like responsibilities, it's like, nah, man, I'm not going away for like years and years, or 20 fucking whatever the fuck, just for how, whatever. I just say, if I'm willing to do the quote unquote crime, selling pot, and I'm willing to take the 3 to 5 to 10 years, it's like, if that happens for the amounts or whatever, I don't know how they at that time would have, the sentencing, but it's like, well, I'm willing to do that because this is my shit. This is, it ain't no one else. And like, but so, yeah, and everything else is like, nah, I'm not going to do the time, and I'm not going to snitch, and I'm not going to do anything like that. So it's like, I ain't here to pretend, and so, yeah, I guess that's always respected or whatever. But, and I appreciate their style and their, the way they are. And I don't agree with everything that some of them do, or how they handle problems or situations. Because, what I never respected was like going after someone's family or family members. It's like, yeah, that's a way to hurt and get to someone really deeply. But it's like, come on, man, like, have some heart, like, deal with the person that you have an issue with directly, and deal with it as you do, but leave family out of it. Like, it's like, Jesus, man, like, I always just thought that was so fucking like, I definitely was never cool with that kind of thing. And I just heard stories that made my stomach turn. It's like, of things they maybe had been done to other people's families, or their moms, or whatever. And it's just like, nah, man, I'm not evil, dude. Like, I've always had a good heart, and like, sure, I can handle myself, and if shit pops off, I'm ready, dude. Like, or was, or I am still. But I don't want that. And I'm not like a guy that's like, some psychopath that just like can't wait to join a gang or branches of the military so I can go kill people because that makes me happy or something. Like, no, that's just not me. And so, and it's like, yeah, it's like, I always really wanted to be a Navy SEAL, that I thought, oh my God, like, how fucking badass are you at that point? Like, just in your mind and physical. And, it's like, you look at these Navy SEALs and what they can do with the strength of their mind. And I was just like, holy shit. And I don't know if I would have been strong enough to do it, but like, and of course I'm like, with my learning issues and like, I know it's like, I don't know. And then I also saw that at that age where it's like, I'm 16 watching George Bush and Al Gore go head to head, but I'm like, this whole principles of it, like two faces on like heads and tails on a coin, but it's like, so they appear different, or like one's in this Democratic, one's in this Republican party, and like, but they're just for the same cause. So I never got that. And then like the wars that were created or started, or we went to, just like all the, we should have never been in Nam, and why we were there. And it's like, I just thought, it's like, man, it's like, I really want to be a Navy SEAL if I could, but like, I don't want to go do an agenda for someone if I don't trust them. And it's like, if I could see at that age not to trust these people, because Al Gore and George Bush, like, they both went to Yale. They're both in the Skull and Bones. that's not a secret. You can just look into that. Hell, there was even an interview. I can't remember the guy's name, and I think he's dead now. And I think he maybe died shortly after this interview, actually, if I remember right. Could be wrong about that, but in the interview, the guy's like interviewing George Bush and Kerry at the same time, and he's all like, "Oh, you guys are both in the Skull and Bones and like do secret blah 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 society," and Bush just kind of like goes, "Yeah, so secret we can't talk about it." And then it gets like moved to the next subject, and I'm just like, okay, something fishy's here. And then of course I get older and I look into things, but and it's like, oh Jesus. But anyhow, so yeah, it's like, I guess I just never really could like trust or believe in, like, it's like I'm this, say I was this Navy SEAL, and then they're like, oh yeah, go do this for this reason, and then I'm going to be sitting there the whole time like, God damn it, probably not the reason, or probably not, but all the brothers in my group would be like just looking at me like, what the fuck's wrong with you? And then I'd be like, forced or inside or physically to do something that goes against my morals or what I believe is right or wrong. So that's that, for that facet of it. But what I always thought was cool when I was, in my days of throwing house parties and shit, when I'd throw these like bad, I had all this money, and not only was I selling weed, but I was running my own company, out of Omaha, I was, Go Organics. That was my shit, lawn mowing, care, maintenance, landscape, and organic fertilizers, and I had a buddy, and then I also learned like how to brew microbial teas using various things, worm castings and so forth. And so I took that, and the money that I had, and I just so I'd buy a mower and and just see what happens, and it really took off. My only competition was Omaha Organics, and I was Go Organics, and like people were calling. The way I set up my own website, or created my own website, and then my cousin Jenny taught me how to do the SEO, so like targeting search. Well, I did that, and I did it the right way, I guess, because I paid Rocket Boost like $5 a month through Wix, website creator, and it was like I was second on Google under Omaha Organics. And like it was sweet. And so like people would call us both. I'd have a way lower bid, and doing the same thing, but except I use microbial tea, which is like organic miracle grow on crack, and so I was like, from the word through the grapevine was that I was like putting this dude out of business for a while, or it was a threat to. Based on how he was doing shit and what his overhead and everything. I just didn't have that. And same overhead or whatever. And, but anyway, so yeah, like I'm like so I had, my house, but I had all this money. And so I would just be like, and me and my girlfriend were just like, hell yeah. So we just put on these parties. And there would be fucking gangsters from every corner of Omaha in my crib, like, just partying and having fun together and like freestyling. I don't know if I still have those videos somewhere where I just took quick little short videos of them freestyling together or whatever. I don't know, I could look for them. I guess it doesn't really matter. I probably don't, but maybe in some cloud storage somewhere. I don't know. Anyway, but I'm just like, they're all just experiencing, and like you got like a Vice Lord and a Crip and a Blood, like all in the same circle, rapping together, dude. And they're just getting along, no drama. There's never one drama. No one ever pulled a gun. No one ever did nothing. Like, it was just like they were in my house and they respected being there and me and each other in that space. And then I'm like, so I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, if you guys can get along here, why can't you get along outside? Like, it's like that whole, like, when you're in jail, it's like everyone is like together, and it's like, doesn't matter what gang you're in. Like, of course, white people kind of hang with blacks, Mexicans hang with Mexicans, and whites hang with whites, but they don't care what gang you're in or from. They're just all hanging out together because they're in the same situation. But then you go to like prison. Oh, and then like the whites and the blacks and Mexicans all kind of get along in jail, and no one really gives a shit. And then it's like, but then they go to prison and everyone just divides automatically and becomes this other thing and like separate and wars and like, it's like, what the fuck? I never got that. I was like, why does that just happen? But I'm sure it's devised something. I don't know. But yeah, I never got that. Like, and then of course, when I was in like a, in a manic, or it was more manic than psychotic, because there's like, I wasn't really in psychosis, but I was definitely manic, and I was taking way too much Adderall, which was prescribed to me for focus and depression and other things. It's like a miracle pill, but it also does give me this like heightened sense, I guess, or like speed, whatever. So there was a time where before I was like, I need to be responsible and take this responsibly. Before that, I was like kind of just going ham on it because it was fun and exciting. Well, I like start this Facebook page, and it's like, and I was trying to reach all the gangsters, like, and, whether I knew them or people out there or whatever. And so like, and I wasn't trying to like stop what they do. I was just trying to like unite everyone, or like give them the idea to all unite, and it's like, then of course, like, there was a cartel member I was talking to or whatever. And he was talking about how like the CIA or branches of the CIA and the cartel work together, and they always have, and all this shit. And I'm like, damn, dude. So like, it goes so deep, and then you have the whole conspiracy theory, which isn't a conspiracy theory, but like, the CIA or other branches, seeding crack cocaine and other things throughout, like, more poverty-stricken hoods, and that's how that whole epidemic began, and then and whatever. Well, anyway, I'm like shouting out, and I'm just like and then it's not hard to send a friend request to, obvious gangsters from various forms. So I had a big following and a lot of people listening to me, but then I got this it was a little bit out of control, like, because I was super manic, and like, it was just like da 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 da. But I mean, it was still making sense, obviously, because I wasn't in a psychosis. But then I get this message from, I don't remember who or like who it was, but it was a very direct and serious message, like, you better fucking stop now or there will be problems. And like, once I got that message, it did slow. I took a step back, because I was like, I don't, it's like my message wasn't getting across right, or it was getting across right, and it was a threat to something else in that world. And they were like, no, we're not having this. And then I start, and then I'm like, oh God, but like, I was so mad. I'm like, and then I had this moment, it dawned on me. I'm sitting in the hot tub, and I'm like, what am I doing? And I just kind of woke up to what I was doing, and what the hell was the point? Like, I had a point, but like, what's the big picture? It's not going to do anything really. Maybe it gives someone an idea, but it doesn't do, and then I'm like, I don't want the drama and like, people coming after me or whatever, or my family, or it's like, nah, like, I'm not putting anyone in that position. So I just shut up. But before as I shut up, I was like, wait a minute, guys. And this isn't an excuse, but I am manic, not quite sure if I'm like in the right state of mind. And I put up a picture for everyone to see of my aripiprazole, which is Abilify, which is an antipsychotic. And then there were comments underneath it like, okay, so it is a schizophrenic thing, and or a psychosis. He's obviously dealing with something here. And so, and then I of course the Haitian called me, and they, with their ability, and I guess what I voodoo, it's like to help ground me and kind of like shift my energy and calm me down. And then I just like really like looked at this bottle of Adderall at the time, and I was like, fuck it, and just flushed it down the toilet. And that was like really hard to do, but I did it because I was like, if I don't, I'm either going to go crazy psychosis, or I'm going to get myself in trouble. This isn't healthy. So I flushed it. And then of course later, after time was given and I felt better about it, and then, the depression and my lack of focus stuff or whatever, hard for me to concentrate in school format or work format type of thing, like whatever, or read, or it was like, okay, so, then I started taking Adderall responsibly, and that, whatever. But yeah, so like that happened, but I'm glad I did that site, because that's how Kim, my current lady, like, that's how she came to know me, because of her days with the Hells Angels, I guess. I don't know. We don't really talk about that, but that's how we started talking, and the rest was history with that. And then that page is deleted and no more. So just like all my other pages I've put out there on Facebook, it's like, just delete them. Fuck it. Who cares? And so, yeah, it's just been kind of like this long, strange trip of like, I don't know, shit. And it's like, I do feel, and I overlook it, it's like I'm blessed, because with the way I chose to live life, it's like I traveled everywhere. I've been everywhere, man. That's like some real shit for me, like, and it's awesome. And again, I couldn't always enjoy it just because of like drama or things going on in my head, or like, just, whatever. I just couldn't quite experience it as maybe deeply or as good as others. And then of course I'm not always there for real long, or in one place for real long, and I've met great people. Like, I think my best friend, because it was, I listened to the channeling that I did, that I posted in another video about you all saying I never had a really real friend. But I mean, I have, just not like long time or like close or remain close friends, because it's like Mark in Illinois, the Marine, he was my best friend, dude. He was the best friend I've ever had in my life. Mark is the man, dude. And like, and he, it's like, I remember one time Sharon was pregnant, and the shower head broke off in the plastic piece. I couldn't get it the fuck out. Didn't have a blowtorch. And I was just like, son of a bitch. So it's like 2 or 3 in the morning. Sharon's freaking the fuck out. I'm like, Jesus Christ, because she couldn't take a shower. And so I'm like, all right, like, can you want to take a bath? No, fuck, nah, meh. Whatever. Pregnant woman. Anyway, I just send Mark a text. He doesn't respond. He's knocking at my door 2 minutes later, because he lived right down the street and around the corner, with a blowtorch and a knife, and just is like, goes into the bathroom, heats up the fucking metal nozzle, melts that internal plastic, puts his knife in there, twists it out. I put in the new shower head, good to go, shakes my hand, see you tomorrow, whatever. And he knew I had his back like that too. But he was like the best friend I ever had, and it sucked I had to move away from him, But whatever, it is what it is. Yeah, and there's been other people like Brad, and like in Arizona and Tucson, like, because I remember when I was longboarding down Camp Bell Street, and if you were in Tucson, you would know Camp Bell runs all the way up into the mountains, to the foothills and so forth. And I would tighten the trucks on my skateboard or on my longboard all the way, so I couldn't speed wobble. And I would just ride, and I would go to like as high as I could, And then I didn't wear a helmet or any pads, which was stupid, but I didn't care about dying back then. And I was like, if I'm going to die, I want to rush when I go out. So Brad would, drive my Blazer behind me, and it was it's a 2-lane road, for traffic, and, and I would just he would drive behind me and clock my speed while I would just get as low as I could to the ground on my board and just ride down Campbell. And which is nice about Campbell is it smooths out and there's no stop signs or stoplights by the time that I could coast to a stop. And I think it clocked me at 64 miles an hour at one point or some shit, was the speed I had gotten. Because I'm not a longboarder. I don't know how to stop on a longboard. I could never figure out how to stop on a snowboard or longboard. That always sucked. So I'd have to kind of just calculate things and see, okay, I can coast out here, stop here, but I couldn't go down a whole mountain and all the curves and all that shit. But anyway, it's so yeah, and Brad was awesome. And then that led me to be in that band with Roger, where I played the didgeridoo and a little percussion, RJ Cloud Band, he called it. I wonder whatever happened to that dude. So yeah, I mean, I've had friends and known good people. It's just the thing is since I can't stick around, and it's I just suck at keeping in touch, and I guess they didn't care to either, or we just, whatever. And it's Mark, he knows, and I know, if we're ever together, we're brothers again. Ain't no worries there, but whatever. It's just, yeah, so I guess it's, I have friends now, Brock's fucking, I guess Brock and Dan, they're my two friends, what bugs me though is with Brock, it's he doesn't really invite me to do anything, but he's so busy. But I'm always come on, man, get me up to Okoboji with me and Josie and Kim, and let's all ski and have fun. But this never happens. And I don't really know why that is, and I don't sit there being a baby about it. But I have gotten insecure. Why don't my friends ask me to join up or do stuff? These friends now, and whatever. It's whatever, man. But yeah, and Dan's cool. But yeah, it's just I don't know. Friends have always, and keeping and maintaining friendships and relationships have always been difficult for me. Very, And then going back to the days of partying and having all this money and running Go Organics and running and selling weed and whatever and making edibles, and I'd make gummy bears, and thousands of them at a time, man. It was awesome. They were so good. Anyway, But anyhow, I just got thrown off track a second. Oh yeah, the reason why it all came to a crashing halt is because I had a psychosis. I went into a psychosis, and then that led to jail, and just problem after problem, and I couldn't get a hold of my customers, and I could have called Ryan, doing his landscape thing and had him cover it, but I didn't even think about that because my mind just wasn't in the right spot. Well, customers are leaving me, and I'm out, and I'm is it time for a change? And I just fuck it, on to different things. I'll head to Oregon or Northern Cali or whatever if I can for a while. And I went down to the Florida Keys for a while, and well, yeah, I'll go ahead and whatever. And of course I have to come back to Omaha as my base because, Josie and Sharon hadn't gone crazy on drugs at that point, so, but whatever, it's just well, it sucked, but it is what it is. So that's why I don't do that anymore. And, I work just jobs that I can and, that I'm capable of, and, that's all. And whatever, it'd be sweet to have some talent that I could make happen or make money on, but whatever. I'm not going to sit around delusionally thinking that my art's just going to explode, Okay, so correct. And in our observation of all of that, it's been great. Your life has been great. It's been a lot more than what most people have. Most people kind of just live where they live, and then at that point, okay, that undercover just pulled over a guy right in front of me. Weird. He went around me and then pulled him over. Hold on. Oh, okay. I don't know what that's about. That guy wasn't speeding or nothing. That was really weird. Okay, anyway. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you guys. That's okay. Okay, so yeah. Whew. But yeah, most people, unfortunately, live their lives in a box. You know, they're born and they make the friends they make and they stick with that, and that's the entirety of their life. You know, a lot of people don't move around, or they're afraid to move around because they have their job security, or they have this, or they have that, or they have a home base, or they do this, and they have friends, and they don't want to interrupt that. And to do that, to most people, is extremely intimidating, scary, you know, which you've just since from a young age been shifted around and saw the bullshit. You're like, fuck it. I'm just going to live, you know, and whatever. I mean, you were on Fish Tour when you were 17 with Andy, you know, and what you thought of the crowd or not, like, you still enjoyed the music and the scene, you know, it was still a good time. And you stayed sober throughout that because you knew your mind, there was something wrong with your mind, and it seemed like any drug, even smoking pot, sent you into this weird place in your head, and like you just didn't like it. So yeah, I mean, you missed out on the psychedelic trip of Trey Anastasio, but you still enjoyed it, just like you enjoyed the Grateful Dead without needing a drug to do it. You know, and like, so yeah, like, you know, that's cool. And if you just stop and think back, and you know, you never took pictures or recorded anything, so you can't really accept that one video, but it's like, who cares about it, you know? And it's like, but it, you know, and that's why people take pictures and record and do things, you know, so they can look back and remember. But yeah, you just have to kind of just draw on the ones you do and appreciate them for what they were, and just recognize that most people don't get those opportunities. And so yeah, that's cool, you know. And you know, there's, you know, just because you feel stuck now, or you're in a, you know, or you have to be where you're at now, that's not forever, you know. And it's just, you know, just going through the motions and, you know, living life. Yeah, for sure. You know, was there anything we wanted to talk? I can't remember if there was anything else. I was at work and I got this thought about talking about something like out loud like this, but I don't think I can remember what that part was. If you want to talk about it now, you can remind me. But nah. Okay, yeah, we'll just. Yeah, I'm almost to the bank anyway, so got to get all this stupid fucking financial shit figured out. God damn it, dude. Like, I'm negative so much money in one account and then like have nothing in another practically. It's like, can't even mobily deposit a check now, so I got to drive all the way to Council Bluffs to deposit this check and get this debt figured out. Like, god damn it. I'm so bad at money, man. Like, fuck. Thank God I don't gamble anymore. God, I went crazy on gambling for a while. Like, and then I had fraud and all this other shit happen through these like weird sites and whatever. But it's like, man, gambling is such a fucking experience, because it's like, whether you win or you lose, you know, it's like, it's still awesome. It's like, it sucks to lose, but you still get this dopamine of like, oh, so close, like, you know. And I guess it's devised that way for a reason, you know. But damn, I don't know. I'm just glad I'm not gambling anymore, man. Maybe I can do something better with my money, which I never had much of now, of course. But it's like, you know. Of course, I'm tempted to sell pot again, but I'm so far, but I won't, just because of, you know, with Josie and, you know, being a dad, and, you know, Kim and I raising her full time, and, you know, I just can't take those risks, and I just won't anymore. And plus I hate jail. You know, it's like, God, that sucks. I mean, I can do it. It's not the worst, but it's just like, I'd rather be free like anyone else, you know. It's like, and I always do so good at jail. I'm so good at it. Everyone always just like respects and loves me. It's like, I don't even mean to. It's like, but I'm not scared of anyone. I'm not scared to fight. So I guess that's what gives me that respect, I guess. Because like the last time I was locked up, in Omaha, they put me in the, what was it called? The rehab part of it, or the whatever. Anyway, the rehab cells or something, where you can like do, like everyone's in there for like drugs or something, and then you can do like meetings and like AA meetings and different stuff and whatever. But anyway, so like there's gangsters in there in my pod, and like, because there's 3 pods, and like there's gangsters on the end by the windows, of course, and then the white dudes, and all the white dudes are just like giving their commissary to these guys, and I'm like, motherfucker, give me the fucking. I'm like, let me hold the cookies. They ain't taking the cookies from me, man. Like, like Jesus. And anyway, though, this white dude just comes stumbling in, like obviously on a bender or coming off a bender, withdrawals, and like he just like they didn't give him his roll for whatever reason, so he didn't have a blanket, and he like takes a blanket off this vice lord's bed. And like the dude, of course, their response is to kick ass, and it's like, and I stopped him though. I was like, no. I'm like, no, and I'm like, obviously he's fucked up. He made a mistake. He's confused. Give him that chance. Well, he stinks, and he's like, and all that. I'm like, well, give him a little time to sleep it off. I'll make sure he gets in the shower. I'll make sure, because the white boy, he got put on one of their bunks on the bottom. And anyway, and I'm like, just give it time. And then I helped him out, and they didn't kick his ass, and it was all cool. And then one of the dudes, that he wasn't a vice lord, but a different gangster, like I said, they all get along and like play spades and just chill. But he come over, he's like, man, I really respect that, man. He's like, I never really thought about it like that. Like, man, that's fucking respect, bro. And he's like, whatever. And it's just like, I don't know. It's just easy for me in that regard, but I don't want to be there. And I'm not taking those. But of course, I miss having the money to not have to worry about shit. Because this paycheck to paycheck shit sucks, dude. Like, this is some loud bullshit when it comes to that. Man. But anyway, I'm about to the bank, so I'm going to,